Don't expect this one to continue. Kev looks bored AF. Poor show, Kev. Scott Squad is quality.
You could not be more wrong. You could try, but you would not be successful.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, I'm a geek. You are watching Kevin the Geek, and welcome back to slightly later than originally planned episode of responding to your comments. Of course, the series that I do every single month where I respond to comments left on videos left in a certain month. Of course, I'm recording this in August. This is June's one, and this is unfortunately a month late because obviously I came back from my holiday at the start of July and things just but I just didn't find the time, unfortunately, with work and babysitting and trying to put more videos out for you guys. So, apologies, and I appreciate your patience. The plan is to make this video as shorter than usual. Most of these videos end up being 45 minutes to an hour, but ultimately I waffle on and I put loads of stuff in. One thing that's helpful is there wasn't as many comments I felt I could give a genuine response to this month, so that's helpful. The same for the July one, which the July one, obviously before I record and edit both of these, I don't know whether these will come out on two separate videos on two separate days, or it'll be combined into one, so this will be July and June and July, so we'll see. What I should probably clarify is just that little joke and that little clip that I put from friends after the original comment, that was suggesting that you were wrong in terms of me being bored, and also not so much in bored as in Scott Squad is quality, because I agree, Scott Squad is a very good show. I did really enjoy it, and I'd like to do a little bit more. I'm thinking what to do, perhaps in Nesbit wise. Maybe do I, after each series, then do a couple of the sketch shows that we've got, things like Burniston and Chewing the Fat and Scott Squad, and so do it in between series so they can still keep coming out every so often. I'm still yet to decide on that one. But apologies if I looked a little bit bored in that video, that Scott Squad Series 1, Episode 1. I think it was, if I remember rightly back to that one, obviously it was so long ago, but I think I was trying to watch it, and then also I had in my head I wanted to do something and talk about like because it was to do with creating a new police logo, so I was trying to do a chat GPT, not quite GPT, but like an AI generated thing as I was watching it. So apologies, it wasn't me being bored or anything like that. That was me trying to run instead of walking, unfortunately. So that was my bad, and I hold my hands up and I apologize for that. Thank you to all the comments, thank you to all the subscribers. June was a little bit on the quieter side as a general rule of thumb. I think it still stemmed from that sort of weird dip that I got in the end of May. It's just sort of affected June a little bit, but we did reasonably well with it in the end. But what I want to start with, technically, is I think one was a comment that actually technically kind of came this month in August, and then another one that's happened it was a comment that I left on a post, literally a post I did right at the start of the year when I was giving suggestions to people like how do you see the future of this channel? Would you like me to change a few things or whatever? The reason I'm doing that, and like I said, it might be a bit weird because these are the videos that came out in June, but it is kind of in response to the video that came out in June, which was the reaction to the final episode of Series 1 of Rising Damp, in which I sort of said, I don't know how I feel about this show. I wanted to, at the very least, finish Series 1 and have a bit of a think whether I do or do not continue with the show. Because, at times I feel it, sometimes I don't, and I'm just a bit unsure. So, obviously one of the biggest fans and supporters of this show is, of course, Andy, who said, Kevin, I hope you haven't given up on Rising Damp. I know you've revealed recently that you've ended midstream on others. It would be a crying shame if you did that. And Anna's June said on this post blog, which I think it's interesting because it gives two different sides to viewpoints with this. Anna's June said, watch what you enjoy or think you will enjoy. Don't end up in a situation where you no longer enjoy doing this but feel obligated to do it because you made a promise once here and don't want to disappoint people. The minute it stops being fun, that's when the channel dies. I've seen it so many times where great YouTubers gradually disappear. And that, I think, is a very fair and valid comment. You know, at the end of the day, what I do is I release videos 7 days a week. Sometimes multiple uploads on that. Like, if you think like the time that I went away on my holiday, the end of June, for that time period that I was away, when it was 14 days, I had about 30 something videos that went out on Patreon, because I had, you know, all of the episodes of Series 4 of Death in Paradise. I had all the remaining episodes for Severance Series 2. I had all of the episodes for Series 2 of Doctor Who, all of which I recorded, plus loads of others and bits and bobs and everything. So I did a mammoth task to try to give you a lot of content. And I did that, you know, whilst I'm trying to work full time, whilst I, you know, literally have to, you know, babysit my nephew, because my sister is a police officer, and so sometimes my nephew needs someone to put him to bed at night. You know, I try and do all this, you know, to have fun, to provide good content, and, you know, and some, you know, hopefully potentially interesting insights and viewpoints. And it is difficult, and sometimes you can come across stuff that you just aren't as emotionally engaged in as you are with others. So, you know, there's only been a handful of things that I've watched where I've really felt I don't imagine I'm going to come back and watch more episodes of. So far, I can maybe think of 3 off the top of my head. You know, The Office, Stath Lets Flats, and what was it called? Was it People Just Do Nothing? I think that was the other one. That was a more recent one. They're the only ones I'm thinking I really am not enjoying this, you know, watching it. And it's just the nature in what it is. And Rising Damp is a strange one. I have moments where I'm like, oh, this is a bit of a slog to get through. And at other times, I'm wetting myself laughter. So I don't know. That's why I'm undecided with that. I'm of the opinion that there are only 2 good reasons to wear a tie: weddings and funerals. You know, that's quite cute. I also wear ties for special occasions. I think you know, a special occasion warrants, you know, you looking smart and being, you know, presentable, like when you're eating a special cereal like Special K. Geez Louise, Kev, I misplaced my headphones, but I needed my Man Down episode today. I watched it on full volume on a packed bus, started getting evil looks when you started joining in with the intro. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh, Andy. Oh my God, that's... You know what? Thank you for making my day. That is genius. I could just picture you sitting on a packed bus. I don't even know where you come from or where you live, but I don't know why I've got you in some sort of some little town full of old biddies on there, and they hear the just playing out randomly, and then just an old lady just staring around and giving you the evil stink eye of death. I don't know why. Thank you, Andy. You really made my day with that one. Absolutely. Oh, mate, it's brilliant you're reacting to Burniston. I know the views it brings in aren't the best, but even if you decide to stop making it a reaction series, I'd recommend finishing the show. It's hilarious. Like I kind of said earlier on with it, the issue I've got is obviously, you know, for me, Sunday is Scottish Sundays. And, you know, obviously we've done Still Game. We're in the middle of doing Rabsy Nesbitt. The plan, obviously, after Rabsy Nesbitt is probably going to be 2 Doors Down. And then I'm sure we'll probably find some other Scottish stuff to do as well. But of course, you know, we've got Scott Squad, we've got Burniston, we've got Chewing the Fat to complete. So, yeah, I don't know at the moment whether I just sometimes do, you know, the random extra episodes, just do an extra upload on a Sunday, or like I was kind of suggesting earlier, maybe after I finish Series 4 of Chewing the Fat, Rabsy Nesbitt, for example, then do next 3 weeks, for example, chewing the fat, bonus, and then Scott scored, and then start with Series 5 of Rhapsody. I don't know, but we'll have a think and we'll see. This was one of the episodes of Series 2 of One Foot in the Grave. Some interesting kind of polar opposites viewpoints with these. Blade and Mush said, personal favourite episode of mine, the beer glass superglued onto Victor's head is an absolutely iconic and hilarious ending. However, a part of me feels the midgets in the shower joke probably doesn't age very well today. I don't know why. I've seen other jokes based on Little People in the 90s and early 2000s comedies that are fine, but something about that one feels slightly off. No disrespect to any Little People here, for the record. Now, you do have to bear in mind that this episode I actually technically watched back in like November of last year, so I don't remember off the top of my head that specifically that scene. Obviously, I do remember the general idea of the joke was a miscommunication between the idea of midges, as in like little flies that are flying around and they're generally like really annoying, and obviously using the term, that a lot of people do consider quite derogatory towards people with dwarfism. It's a difficult one. It really is when you get any of these kind of things, because you know that the intention of the joke is not meant to be derogatory towards those people. You know that is not. I think is when something like that is used in a derogatory term, that is just absolutely not okay. The idea behind that joke is to be a sense of a miscommunication scenario, and it's one of those lines that it treads the boards. I can see why people would think that it's not okay. I can also kind of see why people would consider it okay. You find a very fine line with that one, but I get why some people may not particularly like it. Now, Anna's Tune disagreed with Blaze Smash there, saying that this was probably my least favourite episode of One Foot in the Grave. An unpopular opinion, I know, but I thought the acting was dreadful and the script was cringy. Again, it's hard because I'm thinking back to something from like 8-9 months ago. From what I remember of it, I found it hilarious, and I especially I think with series 2 in particular, episode by episode is just getting better and better and better. Maybe you could argue the 6th episode, the one where they're pretty much in bed all night, maybe that one wasn't quite as strong maybe as this one, personally. Obviously the bit where literally Victor stood in a dead hedgehog and thought it was their slippers, that was a very classical moment. But from what I remember, I didn't find it particularly dreadful or cringy or whatever. But you're very welcome to your opinions. Everyone, has different opinions, and I think that's the best way to be. I've always followed Dave Gorman's advice about pointing out that the guy next to me was there first. Then the barman serves you straight away for the rest of the night, and you know how to work the barman. It's as simple as that. What I never get is anything like customer service related, how people can just justify and think that it's okay to shout and scream and stamp your feet like a little toddler who's not getting his toy in the supermarket.
No, you're ignorant.
I'm ignorant?
Yes, you are.
I have a roofing company. You work at Dunkin' Donuts.
Customer service representative.
I made $350,000 last year. I'm ignorant.
I've had to deal with it so much time in customer service, and it just annoys me when people just, when they go, I don't like this, I don't like what you just said, I want to speak to your manager. Your manager's going to do it all for me.
I'd like to speak to the manager.
And most of the time you're like, I can get the manager for you, but they're not going to say anything different to what I've always said, because my manager supports me and everything. And then you put them through and then you sort of listen to them in the background and it's like, oh yes, I'm so sorry. Well, here's what I can try and do for you. And even though maybe what they're doing isn't that big, at the same time you're kind of going, dude, this guy's a twat towards me. Why are you acknowledging his requests? Don't do that. Tell him to fuck off.
Go fuck yourself.
So yeah, if you know how to play the the barman, then good for you. This was the relating to the ghosts episode, very specifically the one where Mary moved on after she was sucked off. I've lost 3 grandparents within 6 months this past year, and this episode hits so much harder now than it did when I first saw it. It was beautifully written, and absolutely, I 100%. And there's some of the things I react to on this, I don't really tend to go back and revisit. But you know what? Before doing the final 2 episodes of Series 4 of Ghosts, I did rewatch this episode because it was a phenomenally beautiful episode. It's going to take some beating with the upcoming Series 4 Christmas special, which obviously you have to wait till December to see, unless you join my Patreon, in which case you can see it early amongst other stuff. But I think the way that episode dealt with the subject matters and how it presented it in a very different way with so many different people. You saw the different stages of grief and how different people respond to it in different ways. I thought it was phenomenally written, like pretty much every single episode of Ghosts. There's some shows that you can watch and just think, you really crank this out really, really fast. But no, Ghosts, it feels like you have so meticulously taken care and pride in every single word written, so that when it comes to actually writing it, it is going to be impeccable. The Good Night Sweetheart episode, this... probably the most uncomfortable episode we've watched. Basically, it was the one with all the racism. The episode isn't racially insensitive, is it? And that's kind of how I sort of refer to it. I refer to it as being racially insensitive. It's an episode that touches on real historical events like the Battle of Bamber Bridge and the British landlords putting black troops only signs in the windows as a middle finger after the US Army tried to force them to segregate, etc. The episode itself is very clearly on the side of the black troops and very much isn't on the side of the hillbilly bigots. Addressing those issues isn't racially insensitive in and of itself. It's a perfectly progressive episode that contains racist characters that are ambiguously presented as horrible. I get what you were saying though. I think the problem again with obviously doing this and the way that I do it is obviously I give my viewpoints pretty much immediately after doing my reaction. So what you're seeing is very much in the moment reactions and very much in the moment thoughts. And I think maybe using the term racially insensitive maybe wasn't the right way to describe it. But it was probably more racially insensitive from the idea of the bigots and the one particular character, especially. I hate all forms of discrimination, whether it be racist, whether it be sexist, whether it's ageist, whatever. I just don't condone it. I don't tolerate it at all. And so, it was a very uncomfortable episode to watch. And as well, it's very difficult to do an episode where you're dealing with those subject matters whilst also trying to make it funny. And I think it did just about enough with making the really dark and deep meaning moments, exactly that, dealing with them with the gravitas that it sort of deserved, whilst also trying to give some elements of light-hearted humor to maybe ease the tension at some points. Like for example, when like the moment when like Reg stepped up and was saying to the guy, it was like, Mr. Bamford, as a member of Her Majesty's police force, is there anyone to wit who you no longer want to be present in the establishment, to wit, blah, 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 all that big speech he was going about. And the guy was like, oh, no, I'm going to go and everything. And the guy, whoo, my God, well done, Reg. Well done for sticking up for, the black troops and everything. And then obviously it goes very light-hearted and goes, you know what I'd like as a reward? Hit it, James. Oh, I like cleaning windows. Going into George Foreman and everything. I thought that was very cleverly done. They got the balance about right, I think, for that one. Only Fools and Horses. This show is about to get really, really good, of epic proportions. Bet you end up making it one of your weeklies. It is very possible. So with the weekly shows, as I've mentioned in a couple of videos, I don't know if you've seen them or not, but basically by the start of September, the 2nd of September, if I remember correctly, Gimme 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 and Black Books will be officially finished. So that obviously will free up a weekly slot. And I am going to be replacing it with Goodnight Sweetheart. Because it is a show that I really want to get to the end of. And at this moment in time, it has the most episodes remaining of anything that I've done substantially so far. After that, basically Outnumbered will be finishing approximately the middle of October. Obviously in December, technically, if I pause not going out, like I've mentioned, in theory that opens up another weekly slot. And One Foot in the Grave, if I am correct, that would finish the show by roughly the middle of February. So in theory, we've got 2 or maybe 3 shows that we can put as weekly shows by middle of February. That's not including the Goodnight Sweetheart one. Realistically, if I was going to do that, I definitely think that Only Fools and Horses should be considered on there. And then I've been trying to make a list of some shows that I've done more episodes of that maybe I'll do a poll about and say, which one of these would you like to see turn into a weekly show. Some of them that are quite short, like Garth Marenghi's Their Dark Place. Someone mentioned, I did one extra that would basically be 5 more episodes, and then that's quite a short one. Things like Inside Number 9, Heidi High, Drop the Dead Donkey. Some of those I've not done too many episodes of, but they are really good shows, and I've really enjoyed them. Rising Damp, in theory, if enough people want that, then in theory I could maybe bow to you. There's so many different ones in theory that I could do. So, like I said, we will see where we go with that. The In-Betweeners movie, how the hell did you manage to get this up? Fair play, Kevin. Your guess is as good as mine. Don't shout it out too loudly, because, if they find out that I've managed to get it up and released, maybe they might try and block it again, which I do have the sort of edited version that is uploaded, so that in theory, if that happens, straight away I can just bang, okay, there it is. It's now available. You just have to go and watch it on Google Drive if you want to see the full reaction. And I am still working on the In-Betweeners 2 movie. Maybe, hopefully, by the end of August, possibly, if I manage to finish the editing of that one, because that one I can't. I have tried, and that one I can't get in full on YouTube. We'll see with that one. But I think maybe one reason that I have got it up there as well, because it's also technically not the movie, if you want to be really pedantic about it. And a few people kind of mentioned in the comments on that video with the In-Betweeners movie, going, like, that scene in the toilets. I don't remember that scene, and a few similar kind of ones. And ultimately, I did mention right at the very end of the reaction, I said that I think I've actually got an extended version of the movie. So that's what I think. I think it's probably included some deleted scenes, which possibly is maybe why they're then going, actually, because it's not technically the right movie. Maybe that's why it's somehow managed to evade the copyrights. I don't know. I honestly don't know. So, at the moment, your guess is as good as mine. Still on the In-Betweeners movie, Emily Head, who plays Carly, is actually Anthony Head's real-life eldest daughter. And that fact blew my tiny little mind. That I would never have guessed in a million years. Someone, even after they said that, I tried to look at like side-by-side images and I don't really see the resemblance myself. You may disagree, but I personally don't really see the resemblance. Next up, oh my god, an airline reaction. Brilliant. The icon that is Jane Bolton has resurfaced recently and has been looking back on her time in the show. I did that purely more for selfish reasons. I was going on holiday. I wanted to put something out for you guys, and I didn't want to, potentially do something I'd never really seen before, or, whatever. So ultimately what I decided to do was quite simply to just do something that I thought would be simple and easy to do. That's why I ended up choosing that, and it was also sort of holiday themed. I did have a very quick look, and two people, who I vaguely remember from the show really stuck out. So obviously Jane Bolton, she was one of the really no-nonsense managers, and she appeared in the episode that we watched. She left the travel industry in 2014, apparently. This is like one of these, like, where are they now things. Jane's now 54, or at the very least she was whenever this article was written, lives in South London, where she runs her own company, Party Paradise UK, which provides kids party entertainment and custom cakes. She's married with 3 children and goes by Mrs. Lee. Despite the fame that airline brought her, Jane recently revealed she didn't earn a penny from the show. Speaking on a podcast in late 2024, she said, "Before the series happened, we all signed disclaimers, very bitter. If it happened now, we'd all be bloody millionaires." And that sounds like no nonsense message from Katrina, exactly how she sounds. She said, "When the show first came out, I thought they made me look really awful, and I'm not like that. But people were loving it. When you're working in customer service, etc., you cannot be sympathetic. As far as I was concerned, my staff were more than capable of doing a brilliant job, and they didn't need someone to come in and take over. When I was an agent, I used to find that quite demeaning, so I used to try and hold back as much as possible. By the time I was called in, they told me the same. They had been told the same things a few times, and it did bug me. And that's probably why I walked down like a stroppy old mare." And I love that, because that is exactly how I felt as a team leader when I worked at a call center for 6-7 years. I was one of those people who's like, I'm going to back up my agent. When I'm speaking to the person on the phone, I'm going to back them up. Even if they've done a bit wrong, I will deal with that in their own time, separately, and say, right, this is how you could have done this differently. This is how you could have improved that interaction. But ultimately, I will have their back. I won't, call them out to the customer or anything like that. I will solve what they're looking for if I can solve it. Otherwise, I have to tell you, no, I'm sorry, they've told you correctly. This is what it is. Deal with it. These are the options. So I really, really like that. Now, the other person who I did really remember from the show as well is Leo Jones, and unfortunately, his time is not as good. So Leo, he wasn't in that episode if I remember correctly, but he was a fan favourite for the way he was on the show. I think came in the later years. Apparently stayed with EasyJet long after the camera stopped rolling, eventually becoming a regional manager before leaving the airline in 2018. However, Leo's life took a troubling turn in recent years. In 2022, he was given a 5-year restraining order and a suspended prison sentence after being convicted of stalking GB News presenter Ellie Costello. So yeah, not the nicest of outcomes there for Leo. It's a shame, because I liked him as a person. He seemed very, very lovely and very, very nice as a person. But yeah, fortunately, his life has taken a bit of a wrong turn, and I don't take this the wrong way. I have sympathy that his life went down a crappy route. I don't have sympathy for the fact that he got suspended sentence and everything, because you commit a crime, you're wrong. But I do. It's hard not to feel when you saw someone a lot and you see that they were genuinely a nice person. You felt that you connected with them. It is very sad when you see them go down a very different route, shall we say. The Victoria Wood, the Barry of Barry and Frida. Oh my God. Brett said this for me is her masterpiece. Only she could have written a song like that. She once described it as a joy to write, a sod to learn, and I daren't finish a show without it. Which does make sense, because a few people put in the comments things like, oh, they saw different versions at different times, and so it seemed like it was a very regular thing that she did. But my God, was it good? It was good, so good that someone thought I was going to die. I mean, I definitely thought I was going to die. Wow, I was genuinely worried that you might not survive that. Great reaction to one of the all-time greats. Yeah, I literally thought I was going to die. And if I had died from it, I mean, what better way could there have been to go? To literally die of laughter. That's the way I want to go. That's what I'd like. On my headstone, Kevin the Geek died from laughing. From Wales's Best 5148, I want to suggest that the TV show is called Brassic, and it's so related to people. It has really funny stuff and really deep stuff, which will make you equally laugh and cry. I haven't seen anyone react to it on YouTube, so your reaction would be the first, and I'd love to see your reaction. The show means a lot to me. That is something that quite a few people have been suggesting in more recent times. And I don't know if it's still going or if it's a very recent one. I think it was like a Sky thing. But yeah, that has really been heavily suggested. So it's definitely one that I want to add to my list and maybe potentially check out sooner rather than later. But that's all the comments I'm responding to for June. So yeah, we're about half an hour. So maybe I'll just keep this as a half an hour episode and then maybe come back tomorrow for July's comments. So hey, thank you very much for watching. As always, subscribe, turn on notifications, drop the comments below, join the Patreon if you want the early access, if you want guaranteed reactions, if you want exclusive content, especially on there. Like, for example, like I said, over the time when I was away, there was a lot of content that came out. Believe me, there's a lot of content. There's obviously movies on there that so far have not been released on YouTube at all, and of course some that obviously there's never been the full episodes, the full unedited versions over there. So yeah, you can check them out as well. So yeah, thank you for watching this episode, and until next time, my name's Kevin. I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek.